Okay, we're going to do a simple color wheel. I've got a little model from our blackboard. I've taken just a lid cover, and you can use something this size too. And we're not going to do it that crisply, but if you'll just, it'll be easiest to mark out a little working area for yourself. And the one note I'm going to make just for placement, this is arbitrary, but I've got blue at the bottom, red on your left, and yellow on your right, and I've just made a couple little hash marks. I've got our three primaries, I got a good palette knife, and then just a couple brushes. What I do have, probably not in your camera range, are 2 good buckets of water. To get successful mixing, you must have a clean brush between each placement and mix of the color. Either have a few small ones on hand or just make a point to really swish them in there good. I use 2 cans of water. The first one gets all the real garbage off, and then the second one stays relatively clean, and that's what I really ensure that my brush is clean with. And then either a rag or paper towel and work all that water out so you don't have a big watery mess on your board. This is 12 by 16. I would just use a half sheet of your canvas paper, 18 by 12, and we'll have other exercises on there in upcoming days, so you'll have room to do those, but we want the color wheel right in the middle. You know, with our primaries, that's primary is right out of the tube color. This is cadmium red medium. Cadmium yellow light. A little too much. And cobalt blue. And you'll see different people use different, I do these mostly because they're the colors that even don't necessarily mix the best, but they represent most closely the diagrams that you tend to see, and I think that's helpful for. And I'm gonna make this, I can use that for my upcoming mixes, so I'm gonna get rid of some of that over here. And this doesn't need to be a clean square. In fact, it could just be a little pool like that. Now already with that yellow on there, I'm gonna manipulate that red patch. I want all that yellow out of there, so I'm giving it a couple good cleans, and I'm gonna make our red patch here at about 10 o'clock, I guess that would be, and down at the bottom at 6 o'clock, and I'm wiping it out real good again, because once that's a mess, you might as well start fresh. And then I'm just making this a little bigger again, just so and there might be some transparency here. That's okay. It'll be, see how, look how opaque true cadmium red is. It's really, I can't even see that pencil line underneath. Cobalt is pretty good, but probably not as opaque as. And so the first thing we're going to go after, these are primaries. The next thing we're going to go after are the secondaries located right between yellow, red, orange, blue, red, violet, blue, yellow, hard to do an upside down green, okay? So we're on to the secondaries. Now a little mixing hint, and this was just lucky that I worked out this way. I already have quite a patch of yellow there. In fact, I'm going to put a little more in there. Always mix the darker value color into the lighter value color. So I want here, say, a green, and I want it to be kind of a middle value. There's not much room above yellow to white. There's not much room between blue to black in value. So in between here must be a fairly medium value green. In fact, usually on the color wheel, green and red are quite close in value. So the one thing I don't want to do is start with even pools of blue and yellow to get that green, because what will you be doing? You'll be chasing that pool with tons and tons of yellow. You're going to burn it up. So, and how much do we really need here? Not much, right? So I'm making this little puddle of yellow here, and I'm going to, I don't know, cut away about that much, and I'm going to just barely hit that with some blue. I mean, look where I'm down to already. Now, this mixing in this small of a size is kind of difficult. So you need a good sharp, you got to really work it in there. And my sense is for my true middle green, I'm a little light yet. Look how light compared to the red. So I am going to give that a little more blue, but I want to be careful with it because I don't want to shoot by it too much. That's looking not too bad. This has a little bluish green quality to it. I'm going to come back a hair, and it's a lot easier to come back to at this scale than it is chasing a large puddle of over mixed color. So actually I don't mind that right there. I'm looking pretty good. That's pretty good green. Doesn't need to be any magic application here. I'm going to apply it with my knife, and then I'm just going to make a little dollop around there. That looks pretty good. Pretty close value here. I guess I wish I had parked this a little bit more that way, but that's okay. And let's go right on to another secondary, and in this case orange, and I'm going to use a little, you got to be very careful now. I've got some green and blue mixed in there. I don't want to mess with that, especially as I'm mixing an orange. To get green in it, you're starting to mix a complement, and that'll kill, nothing kills a color faster than its complement. It's very useful of a mix, as we'll see, but for this purpose, we want a nice, crisp secondary color. And so I got my clean palette knife. I'm going again, very little into more yellow, very little of the darker value, in this case red. Look how powerful that red is against that. This would actually be better for my intermediate color. I'm going to take this entire yellow. So even at that little bit, I shot by it. That's why I say really sneak up on that. Now this looks a little better. I want to get a nice clean mix here. So now we are mixing these secondaries and what'll be our tertiaries, the colors in between primaries and secondaries. And as we've discussed, the color wheel, the subtractive color wheel for painting is theoretical. Theoretically, you should get every color neatly. Most of the paints just don't work that cleanly, and that's why there are some pigments, like a nice clean violet, it's best just to buy a pure mineral based violet. So this looks pretty good. I'm going to go with that. Yeah, that looks all right. And use a nice, actually I don't even need that brush. This looks like a pretty good little puddle right here. Now, to kind of prove my point on the theoretical component, looking pretty good here though. Red, orange secondary, yellow primary, green secondary, still with our blue primary. Now, red and this cobalt blue are both quite strong. Blue is the darker of the two, so I'm gonna, in fact, I'm gonna beef that red up a little bit. And again, I'm being very careful not to drag any of these other colors in there. So I'm gonna go quite light, and I'm gonna pull away a little bit of this so I don't muddy them all up. I'm going to get rid of a little bit of that even. When I say theoretical, here's one of the examples. It is hard to mix a really nice looking violet right from the color wheel primaries. It tends to kill the intensity a little bit, but you can achieve. We're getting close there now. If I saw this color independently, though, I would almost call it more of a very deep cad red. It goes kind of brown. But not a bad little approximation of violet. You see how, unlike the other two secondaries, though, a difficult one to really do. If you want a nice violet there, you're going to have to buy a tube violet. But for our purposes, that's going to work fine. So now, let's go one more notch. And now we've got secondaries and primaries, our three primary triangle, our three secondary triangle, and then between each of these, you know, theoretically it would be limitless, right? This could be one continuous hue gradation all the way around, but we're looking for our tertiaries. Here will be blue violet, here will be red violet, here will be red orange, yellow green, blue green. Okay? So now we've got some secondaries mixed. Let's use those. Let's go with, I've got the orange right here. I want a red orange. I want to land someplace between those two. Not too bad. I think again, that red is so strong. I think I shot by it there a little bit. So I'm going to go pick up some of this yellow. I'm being very careful not to drag something else into there, especially like a green, because that will really alter this tertiary, not in a good way. So let's see what we got here now. Darker than that, lighter than that. Yeah, I'll go with that. Not bad. Now, I've still got, I'm going to get a nice, and look at this, the small amounts I'm mixing here, because you don't want to waste tons here. But I need to now come in and try to hit what we'll call yellow-orange, or orange-yellow, I forget which way I usually put it, and mix into it. We can use some of this orange, but that we're coming from the other side, so I know this needs a lot of yellow in it. Work it in there good, try to eliminate the streakiness of it. That looks pretty good right there. Very, very little red in it. It takes very little to move it to that. That looks pretty good. So, you know, wouldn't it be nice if when you wanted middle orange, you went 50% this, 50% that. Well, you know what you're going to end up with? You're going to end up with an orange even deeper than this. So it's not, it's in rare cases, is it a 50-50? Probably in a complementary mix of red and green. So we're looking good there. You see the strategy here now. Now we find the yellow-green, the blue-green, the violet, or the blue-violet, and the red-violet here, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and do this, and we'll come back in just a second. So there we are, and looks pretty good. This one I didn't like. It was more like a real dark brown. I went in and started a fresh mix instead of trying to continue down my line and to make it feel more blue. And again, here's one of those funny cases. Something about cad red and cobalt blue. Yes, we get the change, slight change of hue. There's not much room between there for a hue or a value change, but slight change of hue. And this one gets quite dark. It's hard. I would hardly read that as a dark blue violet. But you know, when I look at the general color wheel result, looks pretty good. So we'll go ahead and mix those, and keep the rest of your sheet clean for later mixing.